I implemented something that's weekly, and then we call it Pulse. And
Hmm.
it's Pulse, so we send. It's very simple. Do you understand what you need to do this week? Do you have all the resources that you need to complete your job? Are you getting the support? Is the client okay? Like that language, huh? As basic as that. And then what they do, that's okay. But what's important is that all these responses are categorized, red flags, and the whole loop is followed. It's like a 360 loop.
All right. Okay. Welcome to this awesome episode. Here with Andrés Angelani, the CEO of Wizeline. Welcome to our podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. One of my favorite things about, on this part of the journey has been meeting with leaders and talking about leadership and performance. So I'm just looking forward to hearing your thoughts and having learned more about you and your company. I feel like it's going to be a really great discussion because you guys are doing some exciting work globally. I see that.
Absolutely, no, yeah, it's an ongoing topic, right? It's always been, but now more so now that roles are changing, and what are we expecting from people, and what people expect from the leadership, and it's very, very interesting.
That's a good way to say it. I love it. It's interesting. And I love too. It's like even as much as technology is advancing and, also we are hearing all about AI, still, I think the topic of, human development and the human role is, like you say, more important than ever actually today. So, yeah,
Yeah. So from our perspective, we will continue to be a people company. Right?
people company.
Most of the product of the company comes from the people and the talent, right? Combining design with engineering with QA, but those roles are now all impacted. I think
Hmm.
that role is impacted by in technology because what we do at the end of the day is we engineer digital products. We are first impacted, so to speak,
Hmm.
but the people are absolutely needed. It's just that the way of working is just shifting.
Oh, I'm already glad that you have that perspective. Not replacing people, just shifting the way that they work. In that world, I feel like it's even you can say the value of people even increases more because there'd be more and more of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, so under the right type of engagement, we can unlock individual productivity, which actually grows our business. You can see it in both ways. Glass half empty, you think, oh my goodness, we used to get revenues by number of people that we had, but half full is, hey, if we shift engagement model to one where we can, attack the problem with more accountability and taking a little bit more risk, the clients normally let you define how is it that you work, which in our world kind of unlocks a lot of productivity because you don't have to be subject to some of the restrictions that sometimes happen when you're working engagements where the client really controls the flow, what people do on a day-to-day basis. We can absolutely kind of agenticize some of the work, which allows us to take more work. So it's not like
Mhm.
we're just, we're taking a defined finite work that constant is constant, does not work, it does not change. No, it can increase exponentially as we add more velocity to our teams. So the view is it's a challenge because you have to transform how you work, and basically clients need to understand how is it that you work now in this new era, but at the same time it's a huge opportunity. It's
Mhm.
you know
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I prefer to take it obviously as an opportunity, and we are unlocking some of that already. So it's absolutely possible. A lot of the tools, especially the AI generating tools like that help us do the work this way, are advancing. But the issue is that, I mean, the issue there's not going to be, like, it's very hard to fully replace, if you know what I mean. Like, you're creating content, for example. For the other day, we did a article to video AI tool. We are pretty good in media features and digital products all the time. And the AI allowed us to kind of ingest an article, written article from
Mhm.
Time. You feed it a link, and then it creates a video, puts voice in it, like just creates the whole story. You can actually publish in the social network. So I was saying, like, this is fantastic. But what it does first is it creates the storyboard, it creates the narrative. So then the editor can perfect it, select the right
Right.
image, figure out what the right voice is. So it really unlocks a lot of productivity as long as it's highly customizable.
Right.
Autonomous AI is something very weird that I don't think that, it doesn't, because it doesn't quite get there. So there's the, and hence the human in the loop is key.
Yeah, I always love to hear that from technologists, I say. So that's great. But Andre, let me take us let's kind of take us back to your role a little bit. And I understand you're relatively new in the CEO role at Wizeline. So can you tell us a little bit about what the first year has been about? And including, especially with a focus on, what is your philosophy about developing leaders to thrive in the changing and high demands of today's world with all the stuff we just kind of covered also.
Yes, it's not my first time CEO. I was CEO of other companies, but
Mhm,
this has been about a little bit over a year. Uh, Wizeline is a product engineering company, built software, normally working with like large clients that don't have kind of a sophisticated innovation lab. So we're kind of that innovation lab for
mhm,
the clients. Obviously, because of everything that has been happening over the last few years, we are very AI centric. Data and AI is kind of what we've invested on. And then in terms of the leadership, is I work with a set of leaders that some of them are already working with me. We work together for like 15 years. So you normally bring with you, and my team normally assembles to the new asset and with the new management. There's a few principles that I'd like to kind of comment. One is the diversity of leadership. So incumbent and new, you always want fresh blood when you're taking over, to foster that dissent in a constructive way.
mhm.
I prefer not to, I don't settle for consent, like, a consensual team. Everybody, there's a lot of love and nobody has different opinions. That does not work in business. We need dissent. Sometimes it gets heated, but as long as it's not, you don't go to that like petty, and then there is a compromise and a resolution,
Mhm.
what normally happens, and that really fosters the bigger, like better leader. Leaders that are just quiet and passive aggressive don't prosper, especially in our world, right? In
Yeah.
the world that is constantly changing. That's the normally the culture of leadership that I foster.
Mhm.
Leaders that can have a go and can have arguments and can really speak their mind. And then we are, we just want to get real every single time. It's like, okay, well, what does this mean? Right? So we're gonna now shift how we work into a new model. What does that mean? What's the data supporting it? And then experiment, right? So what I appreciate normally in the leadership is that experimentation mindset, which is, you know what, I'm gonna try for 3 months. I have a I think this is gonna work out. Right?
Okay.
And then this is what we should expect as acceptability. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you
Okay.
move on, and that's what that agility, especially when it's coordinated, that people don't work in silos. It's extremely. I mean, it has worked really well.
Mhm. Okay. That sounds like so. It sounds like you're bringing in some fresh blood, which makes sense, and bringing in your teams that and blending them in with the existing teams, and then we are test and learning, which is always great. And I saw a lot of references to agile, so I know I'm sure you're bringing that.
So a foundational principle for me, because we don't work.
Yes,
We work in everything is moving at the same time, right?
me too. I'm also agilist. I don't know what you call them. So totally.
Good.
Yes, nice. So as you see the teams blending and growing and through a lot of this work and the cycles together, how do you identify? Do you think about building the leadership pipeline beyond, today and how do you identify opportunities to strengthen the pipeline and build for the future?
Yeah, and that's it depends on the size of the org. So I've experienced running from nothing like startup in my early days up to multi-billion dollar businesses. Just depends. But up to a point, process is key here. I mean, so why? It needs to be built into the career path, right? So we have a few agile kind of things in the career path. Example, we created something that we call boosters, right? And it's fully implemented now at Wizeline, and I love that. These are like elements that prove that to provide evidence to anybody, and it's architected across the board for any role on things that we're interested about, like business priorities. Let's say close different types of deals. From that to train somebody, to mentor another person, to put out a fire with the client, to create a new product, to learn a new technology. All these things are that obviously there's a whole category of boosters, but anybody can do it at any time. And those things
Interesting.
are recorded like, and they are part of the career profile. So you have obviously a career profile, there's a lattice, you have the description of your role, what's supposed to do, the gates to move from one level of seniority to the next, traditional. But this thing allows us to capture potential.
Mm,
When
okay.
you have thousands of people,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to figure it out because it depends on the manager. And sometimes, the manager is not a really good leader. Right? So you don't have like all the managers are good leaders. Some of them are, some of them are. So what this does is that absence of boosters in the individual contributor may be a sign that it will continue to be an individual contributor.
Right.
Signs of lots of boosters in the individual contributor, and as they're moving through in the ladder, means that okay, this is a high potential individual. This is somebody that's putting skin in the game, maybe spending a little bit more of their own time because they are passionate about learning something new. So that's who you pick up. So identification is key.
Yes.
And then promotion recognition is absolutely key too. It doesn't have to be financial. Sometimes it's exposure. Come to this cool project that we're doing, or an opportunity to showcase a skill that otherwise he would not be or she would not been able to showcase. Those are things, but it's got to be architected by a process because otherwise it's all down to the style of management that
Yeah.
your manager has.
That's what I was going to say. You mentioned that's what I was going to ask you about is identification is key, which I totally understand. You mentioned diversity earlier is key, but uh, it's tricky business there because because inherently it's easy to bake in bias into that process, right? To who's identifying, how's identifying. So I like that you're going thinking about the process and having some sort of an external markers, right? Like the boosters that you mentioned, right? So that you kind of keep the selection alive, thriving, and as unbiased as possible.
Yes, and also one of the things that also it kind of laterally it helps is that because people are recognized, it kind of feeds into the same, it gives them right to, it empowers them at the end of the day, right? So that the process is absolutely key at that level because you gotta like really try to unbias the manager, right? And the peer group, and like, I mean, there's a lot of biases around the specific performance of an individual and potential and observability of potential, right? Sometimes you're seeing somebody through a lens, not the right project, not the right scope. The client is a one, not the right manager, and you're seeing an individual contributor that has an enormous potential that may be kind of hidden down there.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So I noticed on your website, and you're talking already speaks to this. You place high value in retention and development of your resources, right? Again, I love that focus. It totally makes sense. Do you think about that as a part of? Do you think about leadership development as a part of that retention strategy that when you work, and then the ones that are popping up as leaders to not just retain but to excel and go forward in the company, those paths.
No, I think retention is very important for us. Yes.
Yeah.
But we not only for the business itself, like as a business metric, is it's very important because a lot of the revenue of the company is a function of the people that are working in projects. So obviously it's important, but also the retention is important because it's very difficult to go only with the lateral hire for leaders. I mean, it's just destroys the culture of the company if everybody coming in is from the street. Like, so everybody needs to be kind of adjusted into the culture, and then putting something personal to the culture. It's very, so balance is key here. We try to retain, obviously we purposely try to eliminate bottom performers because we want to maintain the high performance culture. So we do, but not as a mechanism to reduce of on trend, or because I want to, like more, okay, ones at the bottom, it's better that, maybe they're not the good fit for us, so we maintain the high quality. But having said that, then, retaining the ones that, and when you have the career of the person, we record everything,
Mhm.
right? We have data about what projects they've been to, what specific roles, the boosters they acquired, the management that they've kind of been circulating around, the kind of industries that they have experience in. It's a much less risky decision to promote somebody that you work
Of
with.
course. So one of the, and of course, it makes sense that you are running a high performance organization. You're looking for high performance individuals. You want a healthy tension value retention, but also there's wanted attrition with low performance. So keeping high performers, and I know from personal experience, but also now from the data shows us actually the high performers have a tendency or are susceptible to burnout. That's like the other side, the other flip of the occasion. So I wonder what's your experience with burnout and managing
Yeah,
performance.
I don't think that any organization is completely shielded from potential burnout, especially when you're working on a project that's tough. But in our case, I think balance is key. We take a lot of, we look at seniority mix, and it's a healthy blend. We work in pods, cross-functional teams with a carefully selected seniority mix.
Mhm.
Is well supported, right? So the more senior, more high potential they are, they have a team that the team can learn from them, and the high performance individuals can offload to a very avid, less senior team. It's the right. And I've written, like, many years ago, I wrote a book about this, and we took data about specific performance and churn on teams, smaller teams, groups of smaller teams.
Mhm.
The more seniors you had concentrated, at one point performance decreases.
Mm. Okay, yeah,
You think,
interesting.
oh, I want a player. Well, if it's not well coordinated and there are all cooks, who's gonna do it? Who's gonna who's gonna do the stuff that is not fun?
It's so fun, and also like I find sometimes like, um, high performers they want like you want everybody wants to go fast, fast, fast. You almost need somebody to be like cleaning up. It's like a group of just like type A fast high performers is like
No, so a well-balanced team is more performant,
yeah,
and also a lot more sustainable.
yes, okay, fair, yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
sometimes, high performance, they underestimate some small things, and then we're building software, right? So sometimes, we just think that it's going to be fine, and then when they reach production, we get issues. And if you have a well-balanced team that follows a methodology, follows process, you check all the boxes because somebody is going to go and check that, everything is fine. Now, there are a lot of tools that help us, right? So AI in the software development lifecycle is great. Now it gives them a lot of other tools to be a lot more consistent and high performance, high quality first time, that's something that is enormous opportunity right now. But without the careful methodology and the correct balance, you can also create massive technical debt. So again, I mean, the, what I'm trying to say here is that, without deviating from the point, that balance in seniority mix still continues to be a very important thing. Right? So it's not like, oh no, we're just gonna have a couple of seniors and then everybody else is gonna be an AI agent. Okay, good luck with that.
Yeah,
You
fair.
know, it's a blend, right?
Um, yeah, well, you mentioned your book. Like, I'm curious, what was that? So you tackled this ahead of its
Yeah,
curve?
so I was in a different company. I wrote a whole methodology about team building and cross-functional teams that we used to call the agile pods. And the book is it's called the Never-Ending Digital Journey. That's the first one. And then I wrote another one that's called Transforming While Performing, which is all about the build. these innovation
Like to
teams.
build a plane while you're flying it, like that famous analogy.
Yeah. So it's about digital transformation. It's how a company that does not have the chops can actually build partnerships to
Okay.
boost their innovation profile and get in mainstream.
So one of the reasons I can relate to a lot of you're saying I built my career in technology and digital transformations as well. But one of the things I saw as a leader and that pulled me into this direction of building performance and leadership in a repeatable, scalable way. That because that's a challenge I saw. So I just wanted to ask you a little bit because all the stuff you're saying absolutely makes sense, right? Individuals are working, we have to build teams, get a balance, get them into a flow towards common goals, and we test and learn. Makes sense. Everything just gets harder and harder when you are looking to scale it. You have different departments. You have, especially in your case, you have global teams. It's the scale and consistency across teams, groups, countries that I think becomes the challenge. So I just wonder how you think about that. How do you think about scale and repeatability of some of the solutions that you've talked about?
Yeah. So in terms of structure, one of the things that get challenging and that there has to be an additional effort is how do you make connections happen across layers?
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm not going to mention this, but I've been advising and just talking to some clients that there is a total disconnect between the suite and the layers like C minus one, C minus two, C minus three.
Uh-huh.
So that requires an incentive that is compatible, like incentive compatible incentive. Say that's from the big picture, right?
Uh-huh.
Compatible incentives, the board understanding what those incentives are. Because if the board doesn't know, then they're gonna ask things to the CEO and the C-suite, and the C-suite is gonna try and play things, and then
Uh-huh.
underneath, people are not.
Uh-huh.
So that's very, very difficult to thrive leadership for somebody to if your incentives are not aligned.
Uh-huh.
The other one is what are we measuring us against, right? Are those measurements compatible? So is it revenue? Is it margin? Is it both? In what measure? What am I feeding? What am I helping in?
Uh-huh.
C-suite, C minus one, C minus two. So that's again, it's process data, but also it's communication, right? Because it's constant reinforcement of communication, especially when you're multi-geo. In our case, we are in the US, obviously we are in Europe, we are in Latin America, we are in Vietnam in Asia, we have Vietnam as well. So
Uh-huh.
imagine how to kind of keep that consistency, what good looks like. So things seem basic, but they're normally very badly executed.
Yes.
You really understand your role, right? I mean, do you understand? I mean, that's something that I struggle with,
Yeah.
you know? And it's
I love
basic,
that. Yeah.
it's but it's executed really poorly. People don't like what am I supposed to do? They don't. What makes you successful? At all levels, that people down and up see, okay, this is successful because A, B, C. Do you know why he is successful or she is successful? I don't know.
They're working, doing their thing.
He's so, and then you think, yes, that happens across the board. So we really want to get those basics right. And then, of course, we use tech too. And we use cool things and experiences and events and like community building. And that helps us get together in formal and informal ways. Informal, perhaps more important than formal, to be honest.
Fair.
The bond does not form formally. It's a human thing. So you got to connect them and like at the office or in an event or an offsite or like they have to be able to connect, but with some foundational like what good looks like in the process that needs to be really reinforced all the time.
I could not agree more with what you're saying. Like personally, like I think I like to say it back to basics, but really it's the first principle thinking and consistent implementation of first principles at that individual, team level, and org level, and then alignment through. It really is the answer, right? It's just that,
But the problem is execution.
yes, okay.
You have all these beautiful like things that
Yes,
the roles and then the execution is really poor.
yes. The challenge is execution. So one of the things that we like to consider is the idea that execution at each of those levels, right? Again, the consistency with this is what the challenge is. It's so simple as 1, 2, 3. The consistency is the difficult part in execution, but then it's also the world today is just making it harder and harder, is what I am finding, because of the just the noise in every direction, right? That's coming at us. So that's one of the things that we're finding is that we used to be to say, okay, work at the team level, but individuals really need that clarity. Yeah.
So that's a very interesting you just mentioned because we just implemented something that I had not implemented before.
Of
You're always changing things, right? So
course.
we implemented something that actually started from the people experience team, which is not normally involved in here. The people team is I made them involved in performance to touch that individual. Because
Hmm.
then go talk to managers is one version. You see
Hmm.
what's going on, and we implemented something that's weekly, and that we call the pulse. And
Hmm.
it's a pulse, so we send. It's very simple. Do you understand what you need to do this week? Are you do you have all the resources that you need to complete your job? Are you getting the support? Is the client okay? Like that language, huh? As basic as that. And then what they do, that's okay. But what's important is that all these responses are categorized, red flags, and the whole loop is followed. It's like a 360 loop. This team, it's a small team, but we have close to 2,000 people because of the tools that we have. There's AI there. They actually go contact the manager, the mentor, the HR, the delivery leader that's talking to the client. Oh, they do the round, and then we measure the length of the cycle.
Mm.
Hey, you're supported. You're supported. If you have a problem, you can speak up. This is one that, because
Yeah,
sometimes
that's cool.
a lot of that is to resolve by the manager. A lot of that is
Yeah. That's a really cool practice. I have not heard of that being implemented like that yet. It's a very cool practice. I like it. Yeah.
for a few months, and I really like it. I really
Yeah.
because people speak up. It's like it's a simple thing, and it's okay, and it's official, and it allows them to speak up. Also, is the cross cultural issue. I mean, when you're working with Asia, Latin America, the U.S., very different cultures, right? A lot of the people don't think that it's okay to raise concerns.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot, and we need those concerns raised because that's the only way to address them, right? So that's why we implemented it.
Yeah, and I like it exactly. It opens it. So to me, it's about building the culture of communications, which is one of the principles that's key. But also, you're focusing people. You're giving people a way to focus, because that's one of the other cruxes that I feel like is the people have the clarity on am I focusing on, today, this week, and in connection with what the bigger picture. And that's actually really hard for the human mind, right? So that's kind of through that process, reinforcing the prioritization, and then are you not clear? This is the easy way to speak up in a safe way. That's just a part of the way we work.
No, and then the cool thing about it is that you can also communicate across when you actually solved problems. Look, okay, you know what? You raised because in the beginning we were getting, it's a survey. It starts as a survey. So we started a very low people. We have again, I don't want to mention cultures in particular, but there are cultures that are way more shy. So what we started to get very low response rate. But then we started promoting following weeks, like, we solved this problem because somebody raised it. We got the training needed. Good. Problem solved. Client happy, moving forward. Some of these concerns are very simple solutions, but the people don't have direct access to them sometimes.
Agree.
And then the response rate is going like this now because we're getting a more and more and more because it's getting more official that it's all right. But it takes iteration. That's why we're doing it every week. And then there's a monthly report that I get and we review. So
Yeah,
everybody, all the divisional leaders, they get it and it's like how
that's great.
each
I
department.
could totally see the power of that. Now, do you think about measuring? I guess it's a two-part question. Does this connect to you as a measurement of your the staff's employee engagement back? And are you careful about? It sounds like you're being very conscious about uh, different cultural differences, so you're not going to ding people for not putting up their hand until this is kind of proven. So which is great. I totally understand the different cultural aspects. So it sounds like you're adjusting for that. But when you get this at scale, do you see it as a sign of engagement? And then the second part was, have you linked it to performance outcomes as well? Like, what
Yeah.
do you
So
think about that?
in terms of engagement, yes, I think it's indirectly show. We do a lot of things also at the company level, town halls. We do, all hands on those types. So we measure how they engage. We do a lot of hackathons and stuff, and then that gives us other uh, data points. But yeah, I mean, it's one. Performance, we haven't. I don't have a full picture yet because it's just been a few months. So,
Fair,
but the team that's doing this is the same team that does whole performance management.
yeah.
We're figuring out how to link it to that individual that raised performance. What we can do now is, hey, we figured this problem out, and the guy says, okay, well, yes, thank you, resolved. Now,
Mhm.
how did that impact in the overall performance of the
Right.
team? That
Yeah.
hasn't
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I was just curious if you're thinking about linking them.
no,
Totally
no,
makes sense. Yeah.
it didn't plan, but we don't have the data yet.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, that's really that's a lot that you mentioned on, ultimately building the leadership. Like, it's refreshing. It's great to, meet a leader that walks the talk, right? I see. Right?
I've
Yeah.
been getting the processes and all that because I like this. It's something that we it's our people, right? So and if people are saying, well, culture, no. I mean, there's extreme views from my perspective on what's going on, and people are projecting kind of doomsday and all that. I mean, honestly, think about this. If culture is not no longer important because AI solves for most of the common problems, and what's going to happen, these things normally they crash on their own weight. Like, I mean, there's an extreme reaction on the other end and then they balance out.
The bounce out, yeah.
I think that we are in a like it's one of those things, but I hear so much in the media, like you think, what? I mean, this is so
Good.
not real.
Well, it makes good headlines. So
People pick up on that, like, no.
yeah. Well, that's why it's good to have these conversations. I very much agree. I always love to take. I have a similar view as you. I think it comes in waves, it comes and goes, and and then I always like to use the opportunity to get people back to talk about data quality and processes.
I mean, I'm a techie. Data is very important to me, but
I know you know that, but I just say, I always throw that in when these things come up. But was I say, okay, so you're sounds like you're doing really great stuff and you're really thinking a lot about this. But for what is there something that keeps you up at night when you think about, the retention and the development and performance of it? Is there something that, if you could have a magic wand that you would, make true to help to just, help mitigate risk and boost the outcomes that you're looking for?
yeah, so I don't think that everybody knows what the you know 3, 5, 10 years what the those core skills are going to be like,
Mhm,
specifically. That's what
mhm.
I mean.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what will augment us, right? What is it that we're going to lean into? So I'm always thinking about, how do I need to form? What do we also myself, right? I mean, where do we need to train ourselves to really be that winner in the future of like
Right.
skills? Then the rest is going to be augmentation, and then we thrive. I think it's just more of it's an incremental, gradual process that, as we're open, we're building. Because at the end of the day, if I'm doing it with the leadership, that's going to be manifesting in the type of engagements that we do in the business, right? I mean,
Mhm.
okay, how much risk can we take in a project, in a client project? How much investments in our own IP do we need to do? That keeps me kind of up at night. It's like, okay, I need to kind of rev up on the IP investments. How much do I need to rev up? Like, do I need to change the funding structure so that that's kind of how do I kind of at the end of the day is how the company is structured also to continue to be innovative.
Right. Yeah.
And this is a company that is positive, cash flow positive. The company is making money. There are a lot of companies that are trying things that are not making money, and then you're thinking, okay, should I be doing that versus, do we put ourselves in a phase? Which my belief is that I don't think so. I mean, so far it hasn't proven that I need to go crazy aggressive in IP creation to get to the point. I think it's more gradual than what we think about.
Yeah.
So we're
I think that
moving.
that's a really sound approach in my opinion. It's like you're thinking forward, but also playing good defense like at the same time.
It's like exactly. It's like a good balance between
Yeah.
offense, defense, right? Because if it's all offense, then it's high risk, huge risk.
Yes.
And if it's all defense, well, death is clear. So because there's not going to be any growth, and companies like ours don't have any growth, really. I mean, don't matter
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So what's the right balance?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. So, yeah, do you see any gaps in your current, approach that you're doing, or is there something exciting you're looking forward to on the topic of people leadership and development?
I think the top is already because the top it was easier in a way because I blended, right? Now we established the process, and some of them I've been discussing with you. Like I mean, the data is already there; it's flowing nicely to the bottom. The we have not really finished our work in the middle, and middle management is always normally the crux. Like it's what you need to really crack in terms of performance, making sure that you have the right allocation of the right people for the right project, for the right client, for the right industry. All that is not complete yet. So I'm still working. Obviously, we have a playbook, but
Mhm.
not fully done in terms of how we allocated the right, and then the right has multiple variables here. It's just not when I took over, the company had grown very, very fast, uh, organically. So a lot of the projects had started without the proper synchronization of what are we trying to do? What's the short and long term plan? What kind of specialization do we want to build? What kind of IP do we want to do in this project? What's the right commercial constraint, like commercial relationship? From that all over to kind of the structure of the contract, right? So because that's a lot of volume, we are still working on making sure that we have more of a strategically minded middle
Yeah,
management.
that's actually one thing that makes me think like, strategically minded mid management. That's a bit of a dream. There you go. Something I would probably.
Get there. It's one we were far behind.
Okay. So, this is something that comes up a lot too. It's like the mid management layer that is really gets like a serious squeeze, from the top and then from the bottom, right? And just and you're shaking your head, so I know strategically, operationally, we're asking a lot of that middle managers, right? And some of them come up into, especially, and then considering in a tech company, I find a lot of times like you come there, and I like you talked about this too. Is the individual contributor ready for management? Some people don't think about that. They just users get put into that, and it can be a trap. But the thing is that that middle layer has to really understand, the strategy, but that also helps the operation. So they get the real squeeze. And sometimes the tech companies, you need to know the people, the tech, of course, but also there's a business acumen layer that's really needed to kind of, and it's such a important driver to help individuals, right? And translate in between. So I was just, yeah, if I can pick your brain at that, like, or is that the magic one that we're waiting for?
No, I mean, I don't think that there's one, but there are simple rules. Like, for example, if the person that it's being promoted into a mid-management position is, 90%, and they normally come from the top, but they have no business acumen, never, I mean, it will be very hard to connect. And
Yeah.
that's the main problem there is. I mean, if you ask me, okay, what's one of the main issues that you see is the business understanding of the growth parameters business. How do you foster growth? They just do the job, and they can be very technical, but and especially in tech companies,
Yeah.
it's really hard to grow an engineer into a leader that's gonna foster growth for the business.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
So in many cases they can't. That's the thing, because it's not their job. I mean, they can do a much more complex project. They can do, but there's bias in the tech companies to promote super smart technology people that might not be ready for what the business asks of them, and that's the main issue. And that's normally, I mean, I've been a professional CEO for a little bit, and that's what you find. Like it's like constant. You get a company, you start running, and like, okay, well, what happened here? They don't. There's a disconnect between the top and the bottom because the middle is not translating.
So do you tackle that gap at all?
The perspective that worked, I mean, in practical terms, what worked well is at a project basis. We have a bunch of clients, so we do it by client, and we call it coverage review. And the coverage review is basically who's leading that client, who's the person that's rolling up maybe two or three clients, what's happening, what are the KPIs that, growth, etc. What are those KPIs? And then what's happening in the account. So we normally do reviews, account reviews, team reviews, and then we get these KPIs. We meet monthly and do coverage review. When we see that there's no traction, obviously there's an issue. I see it as a function of the data, simple data points on business performance. I don't want to overcomplicate it with KPIs that are like all these accessory superfluous. Because okay, I mean, are we making? How is the NPS? Are we getting a happy client? Do we have the right processes in place? Do we do QBRs? Is the project in good health? Is the client growing? Like all that. When there are red flags there, we step in and we do a review every single month on what's the right coverage. Do we need more industry specialization here? Do we need more, but more proactive?
Very cool.
Problems come up. But honestly, it's very basic. I don't think this is very sophisticated.
Oh, basic is, these, I actually started saying, basic these days is can actually doing basic well consistently equals competitive advantage is in my opinion these days. Like as with all the noise and tools and gadgets that we have, you look at the people who are succeeding, they have the basics down pat. And
There's
that's
some tool that's going to tell you that this person needs this and this training, or maybe this is not the right person for this client, or because there's a personality and fitness, or because the person doesn't have industry expertise in a particular subdomain. There's no tool that's going to pick that up, right? So that's something you gotta have to see, as a function of what the business tells you, the data.
you've shared some really amazing things today. Honestly, I'm very impressed. Like, as I say, like you walk the talk, and I think you've shared some really interesting tips on how practically that's what we're all looking to dig up how to practically tackle some of these complex challenges in the workplace today, so that individuals and organizations can win better.
Yeah, so I think you said it, the pragmatism, like
Yes, yes.
key. It's not a tool, it's not a philosophy. No, it's just what do you do day to day, and what's the cadence of review. I mean, very basic stuff, but well done, that people understand that this is not boring stuff. It's just something that we're tweaking. All this, like constantly calibrating, is what has worked for me. When I try to put like a halo of mysticism, nobody knows what we're talking about.
No, I share so much of your approach. I share the same opinion. So it's awesome to hear from you. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the listeners and about yourself or Wizeline at all?
I know a little bit of the company is like, we're moving really, really fast in this new space and
Well,
creating a lot of innovations. And now one of the things that we're doing is we're helping clients select and analyze ROI on these cases. So because, people are trying things and they're looking at their processes and they're trying to figure it out. What's the best priority for me? How is my data? Like I try to put AI in the business, right?
mhm,
We call it AI readiness, and that's something that I kind of like. For me, it's like say we're doing it to engage better with value in a practical way, right? So it's like, okay,
awesome.
what does it make sense to invest X to get Y? Yes or no? What are the how, right? Because at the end of the day, is how do you make it happen? So we just launched that as an offering, and
Amazing.
because it allows us to meet more clients.
That's amazing. That's actually, again, back to the basic principles onto the new exciting thing that everybody's talking about, but helping everybody bring it back to is this a good idea? Basics, what's it actually going to take to get this done? Yeah, I love that. That's a great solid offering and a way to get in. And yeah, I can see a lot of value. A lot of conversations would benefit from that input that I've been a part of the last few months.
I mean, I've been in some of them, and
Yeah.
with the team, and it's like a sense of relief. The
Yes.
client said, "Okay, so we're saving 1 million. How much do we need to invest?" but this is probably going to be like a 150. Oh, that makes sense. I mean, how do we measure it? Can we do a pilot?
Yeah.
Healthy,
Yes.
conversation. And the thing is that because we call ourselves consultative doers, is that we go into implementation, we prove it. And that's the differentiation. It's like, okay, you go to big, management consulting, they come up with all these decks of massive
Yeah.
trans. Then who's gonna do it? They fade out when execution needs to start. We are actually part of the execution, right? So that's a different
Nice.
perspective.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Andre, for your time and sharing all of these amazing insights. It was a real pleasure to speak with you today.
The same here. Thank you
Yeah.
very much for inviting me.